Coach McKenna here from Notre High School. Welcome to the seventh Great Day to Be Irish show. And a little bit of a special show today, but before I introduce our guest, Nick Maruca, a graduate, I'd like to tell you a little bit about how this came about and what we're going to do here. Nick was on a podcast last night. I've been wanting to get Nick in here. Nick's going to work part-time in the summer for us. It's a great addition to have him come back. But I think we got to dedicate this, kind of like Matt Kubler does, who had him on the show last night. Dedicate this to something. I got to dedicate this to the extended family at Notre Dame. It is a great family. Everybody comes in here, turns out being family, and I think that's what this show should be about. It's about the relationships we make and the ones we continue on with. Nick is a graduate, like I said, of Notre Dame High School, has a real good story to say and tell you. What I'd like to do is just kind of let Nick say hello, give a little bit about himself, and then I'll start picking away at him and just tearing him up, because I love to do that with Nick. Nick, say hello to everybody.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey Nick, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you started from, your whole thing, just so everybody knows out there. We don't want Nick to stand up and fall down, but Nick has CP, but you would never know it. And that's the way I treat it, like I don't know it. And that's kind of been the theme for our relationship. So Nick, kind of explain a little about who you are and what you're about.
So the whole thing for me started when I was a young kid. You know, I was 6 years old when I had my first extensive surgery for my CP, and that's kind of when my athletic journey started, because I started playing soccer as a kid to help. Essentially, that was my physical therapy. And I was still doing PT 2 to 3 days a week when I was that age, up until that point. So I went through a lot of extensive therapy and everything else to kind of get the ball rolling and help my CP not progress to get worse. And it kind of helped me become who I am, because a lot of the way I was raised was, like you said, to not focus on the CP. And I just lived my life not knowing that I really had it up until I was a lot older, and I really noticed differences in myself. But so much about who I am is just understanding that no matter what you do, you can overcome any obstacle that you have if you have the right mindset. And when I started coming here, that was reinforced big time. And my life is centered around my family and my faith, and that is, again, it was reinforced here because the extended family that I got here and the way that my parents brought me up, this was the perfect environment to help me grow as a person and as a coach especially.
One of the things that I got to give a shout out to now is Nick's mom and dad, because just the way they handled the whole situation, the love they have for Nick is unbelievable. But the way they handled the situation is not to coddle Nick, not to hug him and love him and shield him from everything out in the world, because it's a cruel world out here, and he's going to have to deal with it. And that's kind of what he did. I met Nick. He started in my youth programs prior to 8th grade. And I remember going to his high school or his 8th grade graduation down here at St. Anne's. And I also remember when he had a big surgery, when he kind of got cracked straight and everything, and how we had to rehab him from that point. And one of the things that I decided, and Nick thinks I just winged it and threw it out there, did a lot of research, but I just decided that I wasn't going to treat Nick any different, because the world wasn't going to treat him any different. And he'd fall down, get back up. And we did a lot of things that I wasn't sure we could do. And Nick pushed through it. It's a lot of credit to him. And then he ended up coming to Notre Dame here, and he was just, we went to it for 4 years. And it was a great experience through high school. Nick, kind of talk a little bit about your high school years here and the kind of the start of your training.
Mm-hmm. First and foremost, I was involved with football thanks to Coach. I got involved with that in my 8th grade year. And I established a family with that team before I even got here. So that alone made a huge difference, because when I was going into my surgery, I remember this perfectly to this day. It was the senior night game, and the whole team kind of like circled around me at halftime, I think it was, and they presented me with a helmet that they all had signed, wishing me good luck for my surgery. And from that point on, it was pretty much, that was it for me. So I was coaching football all the way through that point, through high school and into college. When I went to Temple, I was coaching. I would come home, and then when we started training really hardcore in my high school years, it was probably some of the hardest stuff I've ever done, hands down. And I tell people about it now, and they don't believe me, the things that Coach had me do, because a lot of it, like he said, I probably shouldn't have been able to do. But it was the fact that, he pushed me to places that I didn't think I could go, and we kind of learned together. And some things didn't work, some things did, and we had to kind of start from the ground up, because I remember when I first started, I couldn't even do a squat, like a bodyweight squat. I couldn't do a lot of the simple things that everybody else could do. And if you heard on the podcast last night, Coach had me working with a guy named Chris Cavanaugh, and he was pretty much my workout buddy for a couple of years because I was so behind everybody else that Coach wanted me to have someone there to help me along, and he became a great friend of mine. And from that point on, I kind of took it upon myself to learn a lot of things too, and then I started coaching in the youth program under Coach. I was his assistant, only 15 years old, so it was pretty cool because I was able to coach the kids in the same program that I was a part of at not too long before that. And I figured out that using my CP as a platform to motivate the kids that I was coaching, especially at that young age, was so critical to them, because it made them realize that if I can do all those things that Coach had me put me through, then they could do it easily. And being a coach and being able to use that in a positive way is probably the biggest thing that it has done for me, because I don't like to talk about it a lot unless it's this kind of a situation where I can help other people, and they can see the things that I've done in my life and kind of take it and roll with it the way they want to. And like he said, he didn't treat me any different. In fact, he probably pushed me harder than he pushed most people, because he knew that I was capable of it, and it made me who I am today, pretty much.
One of the neat things I'd like to do, Nick, is kind of go back to your senior year. And I know you had a lot of great senior memories, but I'm hoping the one that I really that I want to talk about as one of your best is through the graces of a good friend of mine, Coach Hoagland over in Hamilton. We'd arranged so Nick could play in a game, and Nick got to play in a regular football game. Now, we kind of made arrangements because I didn't want Nick to go out there and get broken either. I didn't want somebody to run over him or anything. But tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was something I think I just said to you on a whim one time, and I didn't think it was ever going to actually come to fruition. And then next thing you know, I remember you asking me, "Hey, do you want to suit up?" And I said, "Yeah." So that whole day was pretty crazy. I got to I put the uniform on, I got my equipment and everything else, and Coach gave me the blessing of wearing number 49, which I actually have tattooed on my shoulder with the Irish String Club logo. And that number has a lot of different meanings to it. But one of the best things about that game was the fact that through all my years of coaching, there were guys from all the various teams who had moved on and graduated, and a lot of them came back just for that specific moment. And did it go according to plan completely? No, it didn't. But the fact that I was still able to be a part of the team in a way that I never was before, and I always had dreamed of, it was incredible. And I remember before I went out there, the whole crowd, I could hear them chanting, and the reaction that happened when I did step on the field was something I'll never forget, because it pretty much solidified the years of hard work that I put in here, and for people to notice that and to recognize it in that kind of way was pretty special, because the football team here is something that will forever be a part of me, and that memory is priceless, because all the teammates that I had back then are still some of my best friends, and I will never forget that. And I still have the helmet that I wore, I have the game ball, and there's a lot of signs that people gave me, so that's something that I will always remember. And I can't thank Coach Hoagland enough, and you and Coach Moore and everybody else that made that a possibility, because it was probably the best memory I've ever had here.
One of the things that I think we can't miss from this, though, is it was all nice that everybody else got involved in everything, but Nick earned that. With me, everybody likes to come up and say, "Hey, thanks for doing this for me, thanks for doing that." With me, you earn what you get. And the harder you work, the more you're going to get from me. And that's all I'm asking you, to give me everything you have, because if you do that, when you go out in the real world, you're going to take the real world, because if you're used to working hard and going after things and not being afraid to step up. Last night, a great example. Matt Kubler has a great podcast, good friend of mine. The last minute, he lost his guest. He put that up on Facebook. Anybody want to step up and be the guest? Nick had the stones to give him a call, get up there, and did a great job. And sometimes you got to take that little step hard and go after things, which I was really proud of. Nick, while we're still in high school mode and everything, talk a little bit about high school and kind of what Notre Dame did for you, your faith, everything else, and we'll tie up to high school, and then we'll move on a little bit.
So it's hard to put into words exactly how much this place means to me because, like I was saying, I started here at a young age, and I was fortunate enough that my mom works in the building, and my brother was a couple years ahead of me, so I had some experience coming into here. But the teachers, the staff, all the friends I've made here, it's honestly probably the best environment that I've ever been in. I've been in a lot of places since I left here, and nothing ever compares to what it feels like to walk into these doors. Even to this day, I still come back, and every time I'm back here, people are always happy to see me. And I think that's a rare thing because you don't get that a lot of places. We call it a family here, and that's not just saying it. It really is. That's how it is. And it's a special place because every single year here was different than the rest, but they were all amazing. There was not a single day that I didn't want to come here. I probably missed maybe 3 days of school my entire 4 years because I always wanted to be here. And it just, the environment that you're in, it just makes you a better person.
Well, the neat thing is I call Nick one of my sons, and I have many sons. Nick's probably giving me every gray hair that I have here, or my real son has, and my other sons. But the big thing is even when Nick left Notre Dame, he would do a little thing, a little goopy, what I consider as a professional, a little goopier, and I'd give him a call, or I'd text him and just say, Nick, and he'd be right on the phone to me, and we'd talk about it and everything, but he took the criticism well because I care about him, and being a mentor, I wanted him to go in the right direction. So after you left Notre Dame, where'd you go?
So I graduated here in 2010, which crazy enough is almost 10 years ago now. And then I went to Temple University. I got my bachelor's in kinesiology there, graduated 2014. And then I was lucky enough, I interned with Zach Evanish down at the Underground Strength Gym, who was another great mentor, a legend in his own right. And then after that, I volunteered with the Temple football team for a summer, which was a great experience. Then I got to work with Paul Collodi, who was the head strength coach at Hunter Central. He had a privately owned business at the time called Advantage Performance Training, where I was his head guy there for about 3 years. And then after that, he took me on, took a chance on me. When we met before I started working for him, we met on a whim through a mutual friend, and he didn't know nothing. He knew nothing about me. So he just took the guy's recommendation and took a chance, and we created a great friendship. And then when we started working together at Central, it was great because he's probably one of the smartest guys I've ever been around. Coach and Paul together, the three of us, I feel like we've created this bond together, which is pretty neat. And I had a couple great years there that I was able to win a couple state championships as a strength coach. And it's funny because a lot of my time there, it was volunteer, and I was there because Paul wanted me to be there, and I cared about the kids. And coming from Coach McKenna, so much of what I learned from him is caring about your athletes on another level. And as a strength coach, you don't get to see them practice or participate in games a lot of times because you're always in the weight room. So the amount of love and care that I got from the kids at Central is just as much as it is here. And when I left there to go to where I am now at St. Francis as a grad assistant strength coach, I remember I left and they were all really upset. And sometimes you don't realize the impact that you have on kids. I'm sure Coach will say the same thing. But even for me as a young strength coach, seeing the reaction that I got from those kids was pretty awesome to see because you don't think about it. And being able to now create the relationships the way that Coach has with me as a coach is a pretty incredible thing.
Well, it's kind of neat because, one of the things we say all the time around here, and Nick had to say it last night on the podcast, it's not about you, it's not about me, it's about others. And I think if you're going to be a real quality strength coach, or you're going to be a quality person, or you're going to be a quality anything, you got to realize that others come first. And that comes from the good book. I mean, if you were to take care of others, you will get rewards back thousands times over. And you'll do it for those rewards, and you may never know. I've had a lot of kids come back to me, and I'm sure Nick's starting to get the same thing. This, how much I did for them, or one quote I made change, but you don't know, and you don't do it for that reason. You just do it because it's the right thing to do, and I think that's important. One of the other things that I heard the other day, and I actually thought about Nick when I heard this, is is through a commencement speech from the head coach of the Chicago Bears. He talks about just be you and be who you are. And I think Nick does a real good job of that. Nick is Nick. Sometimes a little strange, but Nick is Nick. And Nick's real, and there's nothing phony about Nick, and that's what I like. Nick kind of now we'll switch gears a little bit because, I'm going to say it the same way that I've always felt it. Your CP has not been a disability for you, but for a lot of people, it is. Give me a message for people out there with disabled disabilities that maybe you could help them fight through some of the problems they have.
It's hard because, like I said, growing up, I never thought about it. And as I've gotten older and I've seen other people with disabilities struggle in ways that I maybe not have, that's not to say that I didn't, because trust me, there are days still that I do. And, I try not to think about it, and I put them in the back burner a lot of times. But when it comes to the people with disabilities, I think it's all mindset, everything that you can do in life, if you set a goal and want to achieve it, then it's possible. You may need someone to help you along the road. Luckily I had my parents, I had my brother, and all my other family and coach. And we all need support systems. But if you have that right attitude towards things, then you're going to be able to go out and accomplish what you want to. Because there were days I came in here and maybe I didn't want to be in here, and I didn't want to work as hard as I did. But as soon as you step foot in here, that's what it's going to be about. And you just have to have that trigger where it's like, okay, like he said, I fell so many times, and I tripped probably today like maybe 3 or 4 times already. But a big thing for me is just having a sense of humor about it, and that's our relationship is largely based on that. So if you can laugh about it and make light of it, then it makes everything so much easier, because then life is easy. Could my life be a lot harder in some ways if I let it? Yeah, but I never let it get me down. I remember, I think back when we were in the paper together years ago, there was a quote, and you said, coach said, if he was me, then he probably would have felt sorry for himself, but I never have, and I never will, and that's the truth, because with disability, it all comes down to you at the end of the day. It's how you want to treat it and how you want to face it, and I could have let it succumb all my personality, and I could have shelled up and been like, woe is me because I have CP, but I went the complete opposite direction. And, I conquered it to the best of my ability, and I've done a lot of things that people probably never would have thought was possible, and me included. So I think that's just how you have to go about it.
Nick, how much of your faith, because I know you're a man of faith, how much has your faith played in your battle against the things you've had to work with?
A pretty big part. I think, I have my struggles with it every once in a while, like we all do. When I was younger, especially, there were times where I used to wonder why I had this and why it had to be me. But at the same time, when you look at it, and people ask me all the time, if you could change it, would you go back and not have CP? And I always say no, because if I didn't have it, then I probably wouldn't have done the things that I did, and I wouldn't be where I am now. So I thank God for giving me what He has, because He chose me to be that person that He said, I'm going to give you this CP.
That's great, Nick. That's a great way to look at it.
And I want to see what you're going to do with it. And, I took it to levels that, I don't think has ever been seen before. And I'm lucky enough where my doctor, Freeman Miller, down in DuPont in Delaware, he has used me to shine a light on the positives that strength and conditioning can do for kids with CP. So everything that I've done with it, I think, shows that God gave it to me for a reason, to be that person to change the mindset of people with disabilities and what people with CP can achieve, especially.
That's great, and and that's what it's about. I really believe the good Lord gives us all a platform. They're giving me a platform to do different things I do with my faith. Gave Nick a platform. Kind of got to look at it this way: if Nick doesn't end up with CP, his parents don't do what they do, probably doesn't end up here at Notre Dame. Probably doesn't end up doing what he's doing. So I believe sometimes that it's hard. Don't get me wrong. It's hard to trust in His plan sometimes, because there's been times in my life I've looked at him and say, "This isn't funny. What are you doing to me here?" But it's always turned out well. And you know what? Kick a door in, keep going, keep moving forward. I'm a big believer in that. Nick, one more thing before we go. New student, and they'll get to meet Nick. The new student's coming in. Nick's going to be working with me this summer. But a little bit of advice about how you would come into Notre Dame, how you did come into Notre Dame, and what you would tell them, a message to help them in their freshman year.
Get involved as quickly as you can. Because I can tell you right now, if I hadn't gotten involved with football, then I don't know what I would have been doing. I also did, I was in the Magical, believe it or not, and I was in National Honor Society and a couple other clubs. So getting involved with different groups of people especially is huge, because that way you're not locked into one niche group of people, and you can get to know everybody. And and this is the kind of place where the more people you know, the better, because like I said, it's a family. So when you can come together with a lot of different groups of people, it makes the experience so much better, because everyone can start to get to know each other, especially in your freshman year, where everyone's going to be coming from the same kind of environment where they have no idea what to expect coming in here. And neither did I. Even though I was around a little bit, I still had no idea, and I was scared just like everybody else. But if you come in knowing a lot of people and making yourself involved, then those kind of fears fade away because you feel comfortable. And I think that's the biggest thing.
And that's one of the big things in life. You don't want to feel comfortable. One more thing I want to mention before Nick goes, and it's quite an honor. We're both members of the National High School Strength Coach Association, and I am very blessed that this year I've been honored to go into the Hall of Fame, and it actually happens into the end of June in Nashville. But even more, New Jersey State Coach of the Year for the association, Nick Maruca. So that's a hell of an accomplishment at his age. And hey, guys out there, you're looking for a great strength coach, here he is. Okay, we got a couple of them out there that have been products of Notre Dame High School. And I don't think you can go wrong. Let me tell you what, this is what Notre Dame's about, right here. A family, relationships, it doesn't get any better than this. Hey guys, have a great day. It's a great day to be Irish. Take care.